to the sidelines. Has a man wide open. It's tipped.
He loves those moments. It reminds me of last year in the Garden against St. John. And guys just stepped up. Blake hits a what the hell three. You know, we're like, what are you doing? And he's done that all year.
Klicka out to Bizzario. It's over. The Pitt Panthers have upset Wisconsin. Anybody if he hits his field goal. Up and got it. Sauls does it again.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Semple Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky. I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Mason Kling and Kent Vanderwood. As always, Mason, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well. I'm going through football withdrawal a little bit. Ready for these bowls to pick up so I can blow off work and watch some bad football. But looking forward to talking hoops too.
Oh yeah, Kent, how are we doing tonight?
Doing well. Been relatively uneventful week, but we'll recap.
Yeah, not much to recap. Sort of a looking forward show, especially with the holidays coming up. We're not going to have a show next week because we're on break. It's the holidays. We give ourselves PTO from our company that we make no money from. But we do have a guest. It's time for his yearly appearance. It's our buddy Mike here to talk Pitt football, hoops, and all that good stuff. Mike, glad to have you back on for, I believe, the third year in a row at this point. How we doing?
Doing good. Much better vibes this year than last year. 2 years ago was fine. Last year was just terrible. Bad vibes all around. We're good now.
Dude, last year's show was so funny because we were at such a bad point in the season that we were just like, fuck it. We got to have Mike on. We got to talk hoops because football's so miserable. It ended up being the Louisville upset week. We were talking about Phil Dracovic becoming a tight end, all that good stuff. That was, I will say, one of the darker points in Semplify history is the Phil Dracovic tight end experience. I want to cut this, by the way, but I have it on good authority from two sources at this point that we're getting in the weeds. He's not going to be a Power 4 level player unless he. I mean, he did play a lot of people in high school.
Is Kenny still there? Kenny Mincy or whatever his name is?
I don't believe he transferred out, but
they just keep getting transfers in to replace him. Like he's never seen the field.
No, they're doing the same thing that Louisville is doing, where like Louisville under Braum has not started a recruited quarterback. It's always been the guy. They just keep bringing like 7th or 8th year transfers. They just got Miller Moss.
Miller, yeah.
So Jeff Brom's got a type. Before we delve into the big two sports, I do want to give a huge shout out to volleyball. They're in a 4th consecutive Final Four. The only team in the entire country to do that. They did that this weekend with 2 big wins over Oregon, which was a 5-set thriller. Looked pretty dicey there in the 4th. Oregon was up big. Pitt closed it, couldn't win it in 4. They win it in 5. And then they ended up sweeping Kentucky in the Elite 8, their final game in Pittsburgh this year. Again, Kentucky was kind of running away with it in the 2nd set, and then Pitt basically said, yeah, we're done with this, and then locked in for 35 straight points. They will be playing on Thursday, I believe, at 5:30 for a spot in the national title game against Louisville. Unfortunately, it is in Louisville's home arena, the KFC Yum Center. Don't forget the punctuation on that Yum. I'm very nervous. I don't like it being a de facto home game in the Final Four, but this team's really good. They have only dropped 2 sets this entire postseason against 2 really good teams in Oregon and Kentucky. Everyone should tune in. That's all I'm going to say.
Pitt, Penn State for a national championship would. I don't want them to advance, but it would be very electric.
I'll give you the devil's advocate. I would like them to advance because I would rather see them than Nebraska.
I'm not in the weeds like that. I just watch Pitt matches. So is Nebraska like? I thought we were the number 1 overall seed, right?
Yes, correct. And I think up until the final weekend of the regular season, because in the final weekend, Penn State beat Nebraska. for the Big Ten title. That's why Pitt was solidified as the number 1 overall seed. Nebraska is just like a blue blood of blue bloods in college volleyball. They won the title last year. They absolutely demolished Pitt in the Final Four last year, which was a team that was not as good as this one. They have like so many great players. A lot of players are just tall. No other way to put it. They have one of the best liberos in the world playing for them as well. Like, to win a title, you have to beat a team of that caliber. It would be nice to not have to play them, though. Is sort of what I'm getting at. But yeah, they're on the other side against Penn State. And then we have, I think we have a bunch of guys.
Did we sweep Penn State earlier in the year, or we dropped one set to Penn State?
We swept Penn State early in the year, but
SMU was the first set that we dropped. Yes.
the only loss of the season. Yes.
Yes.
So that being said, catch it on TV this Thursday. I will be watching. And now, gents, it's time to talk football. We are bringing back the awards show. We forgot to do it last year. We just didn't really want to talk about football after the season ended. But we did this 2 years ago for the 22 team. It was just me, Mason, and Kent voting on it. We did end up getting a bunch of friends of the show together to put together a ballot for a bunch of different awards, and we'll get to that in a second. But Mike, since it's your yearly appearance, I want you to give me your sort of take on the season as a whole. Get some outside perspective on it.
I enjoyed this season more than most. The ending obviously sucked, and injuries are tough when it comes to your quarterback, your offensive line. Basically, every lineman that we had felt like they were going down in that Virginia game. Bunch of injuries in the Cal game too. But this was a fun season because it shows Narduzzi has an ability to adapt. I was worried that he was a guy that's just going to be stuck in his ways always. And when you have Whipple and you're like, man, high flying offense, best team ever, and then you go back to Frank, it's like, what was the reasoning? Why would you do that? But bringing in Cade, bringing in Desmond Reed, having a high tempo offense, having something where it looks like a 21st century offense, I was very excited and pumped for the future. Almost everybody looks like they're back. Just waiting for Eli to post his "I'm back" on Twitter or on Instagram so we can all have a good sigh of relief. But I thought it was a pretty good football season. Injuries ended it all, but I think that next year we're looking at a legit team. This was never supposed to be a team that should be undefeated 8 weeks into a season. But next year, actual expectations, and ACC is wide open. Every single year, it's wide open. We almost beat Clemson with how bad we were in that game, and Clemson is now in the college football playoff with a 12-team playoff. And now that you have an ACC that nobody's really scary, you can be right back next year.
I totally agree. I think you and me are the same mindset. Just too many injuries to overcome. I do think, as far as the Eli coming back post, there's been nothing saying that he's going to leave. I think also what they're doing is that they're building up to getting the Eli's coming back post. Like, they started off with some linemen, couple of linebackers. Like, I think I don't know if Kyle Lewis posted his yet, but they're sort of going up from the line. Des Reed, his was today. They had the highlight video ready. I think they're just working their way up to Eli. People did notice that they accidentally posted something of like a Eli Holstein "I'm back" video. I'm pretty sure they just fucked up the scheduling on that one. But yeah, like you said, it was super encouraging, and I've gone back and forth on this. It was super nice to be 7-0. We went into the season. None of us thought we'd be 7-0. So we have a bowl game.
I didn't pay attention to any of the offseason at all. I was so out on Pitt football. I thought it was going to be a terrible year. I was like, I'm just coming up for Pitt, West Virginia, because it's back at Pitt. Let me go there, and then I won't pay attention throughout the rest of the season. That West Virginia game is electric, and then from there we're winning games that we probably shouldn't win. Like, I feel like our record now that we ended with is probably the record that we should have had all season. It just sucks that, like, we got the 5 games in a row loss, but like that Cincinnati game, that West Virginia game, the Cal game, if they had a kicker, we probably lose that game too. So like, there are games there where it's like Boston College, I think healthy, we could probably beat them. I think we could give Louisville a real fight if we're healthy. So it all balanced out in the end. 7-5 feels right, but you need to take another step next year.
Totally agreed.
I'm excited for that next step. I really think that year 2 of Cade Bell's system with a quarterback that, like we said, is probably going to be in his second year in the system as well. That shit's going to be fun. And I know we'll talk about it a little later here in the show, but like defense has a ton of pieces coming back. Great stuff going there. Like this offseason is going to feel a heck of a lot better than last offseason because we're going to go into it with hopefully a little bit of hope and some promise next year.
100%. And I think even like talking about the system, I know that Cade Bell's old quarterback from Western Carolina is rumored to be. I think he's on a visit to Pitt as like a come up for one last year and like kind of just be around to teach all the quarterbacks the system. I think that's what they're going for. They're not going to try and recruit an FCS guy to play over Eli. But even if you have his presence in the room, he's been in that system for several years. That's just another part of taking a huge step. But we're looking a little bit too far ahead.
Wait, before we get off of that, are you sure they wouldn't bring in somebody to recruit over Eli? Because nobody thought Eli would start this season. Narduzzi himself came out and said he had announced what's his name as Yarnell as the starter. So yeah, he could come in and just be for vibes, but then if he during spring practice he's running the offense better than Eli, then you do find yourself in a situation. I know it's kind of scary. You don't want to lose him and all of that stuff, but it's a year-to-year league, and if you're willing to pay some money, you can get any quarterback any year. Like
so,
it's not impossible.
I'll give you 2 points on that. One, Eli was hurt when he came to Pitt. He had a lingering leg injury. That's why he was originally not the starter. That's sort of what's come out about that. And then 2, yeah, you could everything removed, you could recruit over Eli, but you're not going to get an FCS guy to do that. That's sort of what I'm saying. Like you bring in like bringing Eli from Alabama is different than bringing a guy up who knows the system.
I mean, our vote for MVP might beg to differ, but
I was just we brought up an FCS guy that overtook our whole running back room.
But I think quarterback is probably a little bit different, but Des Reed proved me wrong. I didn't think he was going to get a lot of time. I thought it was going to be the Rodney Hammond show, and we all know how that went. So
goodbye to him. See ya.
Well, I guess we can that's a good transition. Our first award for MVP of the 2024 season, we kind of gave it away. It's Des Reed. I will say Des Reed kind of ran away with the vote here. We had a panel of 11 other players receiving votes. Eli and Kyle Lewis, I think, deservedly got some love there, but you kind of saw it late in the season. When Des wasn't playing, the offense didn't look the same. He was clearly the best running back on the team. He was a one-stop shop for any sort of offense, explosive plays. He did it all. I don't think there is a more deserving player on this team to give the MVP.
Yeah, this team went as Des Reed went. Whenever we needed a big play, and those games early in the season that we probably shouldn't have won that Mike was talking about, a lot of that I think was because of Des Reed and some of the explosive things that he did. So he was really fun to watch. You know, running the ball, catching the ball. I think he did everything, and he was definitely a keystone on that offense that we saw this year.
And like he's getting some national love too. He's getting All-American selections as an all-purpose player. Like it's not just us. Everyone is realizing like he's getting all ACC honors and things like that. Like people know that as he went, this team went, and it really showed. I mean, he was still, I believe, top 10 in all-purpose yards per game, obviously behind Genty and other players. But he truly had a special season jumping up from FCS. Did not look like he missed a beat in the competition change. Like really just honestly like a storybook season for an undersized guy, an under-recruited guy, comes to a Power 4 program and just absolutely kills it.
Third and whatever. Just throw it up to Des. Where's Des? Hand him the ball. Throw the ball to him. He would make a play. By far the MVP. Like not only on offense, returning the ball, just putting Pitt in great situations always, and just a great outlet for Eli to have in his first time playing full time. Damn, I wish he was going to be here for much longer. And after Eli, he's the most important player he was the most important player to make sure that he came back, and him deciding that he's coming back means good things for the offense, probably means good things for Eli, and I expect him to be a ACC at least All-American, like preseason All-American and all of that to have another big year. Only thing, he has to try to find a way to stay healthy in these cramps. Like, good 2 quarters for him every single game, and then it's like third quarter, Eli's getting rolled out on the sideline. Oh, he's going back to the locker room real quick. Like, whatever we got to do to make sure that he doesn't get cramped or rolled up on, like that's the off-season program.
It's finding a running back in the portal. You need a guy who's going to be that RB2 who can. They didn't realize it was Daniel Carter until too late in the season, but you need to find Daniel Carter.
Just take a little bit of that load off of Des Reed. I would love him to touch the ball every time, but you're right, Mike. When it's late game and it did feel like he was cramping all the time.
Yeah,
I know he had that lingering ankle too, but
yeah, healthy
Des Reed so he can be MVP again next year. I like it.
Get that boy his electrolytes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They need to give him like the secret stuff just from like a comic book.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite Des Reed play from the year, from the MVP? Because I do have one. It came in the Virginia game, which is unfortunately a loss. But the play where he is spinning around, catches a ball facing away from the end zone, and then runs outside and gets down to like the 5, that kind of showed you everything he can do in one play.
It's a good one. I can't even think of really anything specifically. I'll just say his whole showing in the West Virginia game.
I was just about to bring that up. Was West Virginia touchdown, right?
I think he had 2 in that game.
Yeah.
Get us, was it either to bring us within a touchdown or to get us the lead? That's the loudest I'd heard the Pitt Stadium since like Penn State time, like that Penn State victory in 2016. Like it hadn't been that electric in a long time.
The one to get us within a score was Dejon Reynolds. The game winner was Derek Davis, but he had 2. I want to say 2 receiving touchdowns to keep it, back and forth game early. So he really did go off in that game.
Which game was it? The punt return touchdown where he had no business returning it for a touchdown.
That was Kent State. I want to say first game.
Oh, okay. So it was against a terrible team, but that play was sick. And that was like his okay, this guy's a dog moment. Kind of introduced himself to Pitt fans. Probably not my favorite moment, but a fun one to remember, I'll say.
Also, another one for your consideration: the long touchdown against Cincinnati, like the 50-yard catch and run, where he just outruns everybody. That was pretty sick. Now, talking about Offensive Player of the Year, we do actually have a tie for Offensive Player of the Year. Des Reed is going to share the title for OPOY, but Kanate Mumpfield tied him in the voting standing as the senior wide receiver. Transferred in 3 years ago. Finally sort of had that breakout season we were expecting from him when he came over from, I believe, Akron. And, he had probably the most reliable hands on the team, most reliably would get open. Finally started seeing the end zone more and more. Also just like a really good way to cap off a career that was kind of plagued by inconsistent offense and quarterbacks throwing to him.
This is surprising to me.
Okay.
Eli not getting. I thought it would be a tie between Dez and Eli, but that's surprising. Mumfield, again, great season and everything. I just surprised that he got Offensive Player of the Year.
Okay, so I will pull the curtain back a little bit. When I reached out to all of our voters, and thank you to all of our voters on this, our 11 voters, I did say if you can try to, don't double up on voting for people, because I think the last time we did this, I think Izzy took home like 3 awards. So I was like, but Eli did receive votes here, as well as Branson Taylor got 1 vote, because as soon as he went down, the entire offense went down, which I don't hate, but little bit going into the bag too deep, but Eli did get votes here. He did get votes in MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, transfer. We'll get to that one, but he did get votes here. But I think it's just a matter of a lot of people went for Eli in a different category, and we'll get to that later.
Okay. No, great year. Like you said, been waiting. Those highlights from Akron were like, oh my God, he's going to be a great addition for us. I kind of don't blame him for it. I think it's more what the offense was with Frank and having all these quarterback abyss, and he finally got a real offense under him. You could see his explosion, his production come along with it. So great season from him.
Yeah, just I feel like if we, we have a bowl game coming up, and I know they don't normally catch or they don't like count stats for that, but he was only, a couple more games of consistent quarterback play away from 1,000-yard season, which I don't know the last time that Pitt had a 1,000-yard receiver. So,
Addison.
Oh yeah, duh.
Jared
it's still
Jared Wayne did it too.
Air Canada did it.
Air Canada did it.
Wow. All right. Well then, Kanata Mumfield is going to continue to carry that torch in my eyes because he has been the Pitt's best receiver for the past couple of years. So it's good for him to get a little bit of flowers.
Yeah, I believe he's sitting out the bowl game to prepare for the draft. I don't think he'll be playing in the Little Caesars front group scam organization bowl in Detroit next Thursday. Okay, next up, Defensive Player of the Year. I think we all know who this is going to.
Was it fully unanimous? Is what I need to know.
Okay, big shock. It was Kyle Lewis. I will say he got 10 out of a possible 11 votes. The only person who did not have him for Defensive Player of the Year voted him for MVP.
Okay, fair.
Very, very fair.
Yeah. Sort of what can you say? This is another guy who's gotten a lot of All-American published all over the country. I'm surprised he didn't get the Walter Camp All-American. I know they picked the Iowa guy and the UCLA guy over him for the 2 spots, but he had just an incredible season. He was a guy that I was pretty high on coming into the year. I was like, man, this guy's really fast. He plays linebacker really well. And oh my God, did he play linebacker well. I'm going to pull up his stats here because they are kind of fucking ridiculous for a linebacker here. Yeah. So this year he had 96 total tackles, 41 solo, 7 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 4 picks, and a defensive touchdown. If that doesn't say Defensive Player of the Year to you, I don't know what does.
Yeah, just an insane stat line.
Narduzzi, one thing I'll give Narduzzi credit for, he knows like how to really work a defense. A lot of NFL teams actually steal his system, and it felt like Kyle Lewis is the perfect player for a Narduzzi system where he can fly around, he can use his instincts, and it was amazing. Has he already announced that he's returning? Just making sure.
He has not, to my knowledge. I will double check that if you want to vamp for a second.
So that would be again, after Dez, that's the number one thing you need to bring back. I would imagine with how much he did on offense and on defense and how he is going to be the leader of that defense next year, basically the leader now. He would come back. I don't think there's anything that would force him to go. But again, if somebody, SEC team, is now throwing the bag and saying, hey, $500,000, come do what you did in Pittsburgh for Florida or something, it is a little bit of a worry.
I will say, I think the bigger worry, granted, he might need another season under his belt. He is draft eligible. He's a redshirt sophomore. That was sort of my first thought after this year. But honestly, I think what you said, like, he's going to be the leader of this defense. If he comes back, he's just going to be even better. And like, this was his first full year starting. He had some like spot play in 2023, but he really broke out. He was ACC linebacker of the week multiple times. His ACC first team All ACC. Like I said, All American nods. Like, just easily Defensive Player of the Year. Heart and soul of the defense. Started the Shark moniker. Like, granted, it all fall apart once that went national, but that's that's outside of his control. But yeah, it's the Shark. There's no other pick. Now, most improved player, we're going to stay in the linebacker room. And we have another tie. It is between Rasheem Biles and Braylon Lovelace, each getting 3 votes. Other picks here were Ben Sauls, Kenny Johnson, and Rylan Gandy in the cornerback room. Kind of, Mike, to what you were saying earlier, these are just more linebackers playing instinctively, getting after the quarterback. I believe each of those guys were part of the pick 6 party against Syracuse on that Thursday night game. Kind of just shows you, like, yeah, Narduzzi's defense works for linebackers. Then shout out to Ryan Manilak, the linebackers coach, finding these guys and coaching them up to where really all 3 of these guys stepped into huge roles in the defense this year and showed out the entire year.
I think the entire linebacker room here probably could have won this award. Because I think Kyle Lewis kind of separated himself as the leader, but everybody else, you look at their stat line, and I think a lot of other teams would be one to have them. So, who'd you say the winners were, Zach? It was Brandon George and
Rasheem Biles and Braylon
Okay.
Lovelace.
Okay, I was going to say Brandon George. You can probably throw his name in there too, but definitely deserving group. Yeah.
Agree with everything that you said. I think linebackers and DBs. I thought DBs started strong, kind of tail end was not great, but again, end of the season wasn't great for everybody. Just wondering, because we did it with Des Reed, is there any other Kenny Johnson that we could potentially hear from here? Or if not, I would like to sing Kenny Johnson's praises for a little bit.
I think I actually had him on my ballot as well, Mike. So I'm gonna agree with you there. He was a
Go
nice
ahead.
addition. He was a nice addition.
I have him on my ballot elsewhere, but yeah.
Is he winning anything else? So can we talk about him now?
You can talk about him now. He did not win any awards, so please, the floor is yours.
Just real quick, what we heard about him in 2023, just like this guy's a speed demon. He's going to come in. He's going to dominate. Like I was just expecting so much from that first year. And again, quarterback play was so bad, so bad. So coming into this year, as the number 2 wide receiver, he went from 100 yards. Year 1, he had 520 this year. So I just think that he was able to improve on everything. Some big clutch catches. I think he's getting better as a receiver. Hopefully next year we can have an 1,000-yard receiver with Kenny Johnson as like that go-to guy. But I'm just a big fan of Kenny, and I thought he really improved in the past year.
Yeah, one thing is improvement too. 3 scores this year, but averaging almost 12 yards a catch this year. I think Kanate was sort of the reliable guy in the receiver room, but Kenny Johnson was really like, when he caught the ball, it was always a big play, and that was huge for this team. And they did try and get him on some like rushing plays and like some gadget stuff with like sweeps. Didn't end up working out, but yeah, he's really a special player as well. Like if you had to pick someone from last year's team, he probably would have won best freshman for his performance in the Louisville game, and that was really his only big game last year. And then everyone realized, oh, if we cover him, they don't have anybody else to throw to. But now that he had other guys around him, an assistant that actually uses wide receivers, it showed off why Pitt valued him as a recruit, and they really valued him keeping him around this year. And he's another player he could probably two-peat this award if he keeps growing as a wide receiver. So, moving up next, we have our senior award. The winner here, Ben Sauls, baby. Better call Sauls.
Let's go.
We did have votes for Donovan McMillan and Kanate Mumfield here as well, but I really think there is nothing but praises you can say for Ben Sauls. He was the reason we won the Cal game. He was automatic for more or less anywhere on the field. Total snub for all ACC. And he's like, I don't know how he did it, but in 3 years, he became Chris Boswell levels of consistent at kicking in Acrisure Stadium, which nobody else can, NFL or college.
Only thing I'll
Yeah,
add to this is I can't wait for Ben to be a Washington Commander next year, kicking for DC. That guy was automatic, and like you said, he did it in one of the toughest, if not the toughest stadium in professional sports.
yeah. Some NFL team's gonna be lucky to scoop him up this year, whether it's via a draft pick or as an undrafted free agent. He's gonna make some NFL fans very happy. I think surprisingly, because he didn't get as many accolades nationally as I think he deserved. Was not named into the finalists for the kicker award and had better stats than the candidates. I thought so. Um, Baltimore Ravens also, you are allowed to draft Ben Sauls.
I'm glad you said it, Kent, because if you weren't going to, I was.
Yeah, actually, the Jets are banned from drafting any Pitt players after not using Izzy for 3 years and then letting him go to San Francisco. Hopefully, they let him see the field there. But yeah, Ben Saul's 18 for 21 on the year. Sort of a bounce back year for him. Was a little down last year. Longest field goal of 58, perfect on extra points. It is a luxury to have a kicker that good in college because they do not come by that often.
Yeah, and he kept us. I mean, he kept us in a lot of games.
Yeah.
A lot of those early ones, even some of those that we didn't end up winning, wouldn't have even been as close maybe as they would have been if we didn't have a good field goal kicker. So it was really nice to have in kind of the season that we had. I think he played a bigger part than a lot of us remember. Kickers are often forgotten, but I'll always remember Ben Sauls.
Here's a kind of crazy stat. Since he took over as the full-time kicker in 2022, Ben Sauls has not missed an extra point.
I don't know how many college kickers you can say that for.
He missed 2 in his career back in 2021 when he got demoted for Sam Scarton.
I know some NFL kickers who have missed some extra points
Exactly.
recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So super deserving. Also want to shout out Donovan McMillan here. Guy transferred back into the program, became a tackling machine from the safety position, really shored up that group when it was kind of looking a little bit rough. Honestly, super happy. He came back, embraced the city, played his heart out, really was along with Kyle Lewis, sort of the heart and soul of the defense, and really shows also on the whole how good this program is at bringing talent back into Pittsburgh that maybe they didn't get the first time around. And he just comes here and balls out for 2 years.
Two 100 tackle seasons. That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Then we already talked about Konate Mumfield. Now for underclassmen, Rasheem Biles won this. We already talked about him in the most improved player section. However, I do want to say Kenny Johnson got some votes here, as well as defensive end Jimmy Scott, who had a really good year, following up a really poor year from a lot of defensive end play, a position that had a lot of question marks coming into the year. And I think overall, he was probably the best defensive end on the team. Had a huge game against Cal that kept us in it and helped us win. His stop on 4th down against Clemson would have been remembered a lot more if we had won that game. But he was really the edge player they've been missing the last 2-ish years on this team. But shout out to Rasheem Biles. He's picking up his 2nd award here. And then our last award here is the best transfer player. And this is why I said hold out for Eli, because Eli ran away with this one, winning a 8 out of a possible 11 votes. Desiree coming in 2nd place. So let's talk about Eli. Comes in, like I said, he's hurt in spring ball. He's announced as a starter a week before the first game. Everyone's sort of unsure about it. I thought it was going to be Nate. And lo and behold, I think he surpassed any expectation I had for him when he arrived to campus.
1,000%. I was reading before we started this pod. I was reading old tweets from some like recruiting guys that when when Eli transferred into Pitt, they were just like, he may not even be a quarterback by the time that he leaves Pittsburgh. There were some Alabama couldn't wait for him to go. It just didn't work at Bama. He was pretty bad. I remember you broke down the film and just like how bad his like high school highlights were. So hearing that he was going to start was kind of scary. Like, what is going on? But this was better than I could expected. I think by the time the second half of the season came, they had film on him and it became a little bit tougher. And that's what I'll be looking for K Bell this offseason. If he can adjust to like when teams adjust to him. So I'm hopeful that he's able to keep up the momentum. But this year was better than anything I could have expected after seeing the past couple of years since Kenny Pickett left at quarterback.
I think I know the tweet you're talking about. I'm going to try and find it here because it's from Bud Elliott. I know it's a Bud Elliott tweet.
It's 100% a Bud Elliott tweet.
Because I can't find it, but I know the exact tweet you're talking about, and it's like, yeah, when I was looking at his film, like his throwing motion was really bad. It was all upper body, sort of similar to the problems Phil had last year after all of his injuries in college. But like he came out game one and everything looked really good. I think a lot of his struggles came with just sprouting out from the offensive line. A lot of hits he took that were sort of unnecessary. Playing behind no line that he didn't have a lot of confidence in, I think. But yeah, I mean, he came in, won 7 games, got hurt, but he proved everything from Narduzzi can get good quarterbacks in, this offense works, and that he's willing to try like getting these players in and making the right call, not sort of deferring to seniority either. Like he saw that he was the best option, then week 1 went with him.
Yeah, and just a reminder on how good his start to the season was. I just have his stats up in front of me. His first 5 games threw for 333, 302, 301, 247, 381 with 3 touchdowns in all of those games. At that point in the season, that's when kind of the injury bug started to get him. Things kind of started to go downhill a little bit. But I don't know, seeing that and seeing that as a ceiling for a Pitt quarterback, him coming back next year, I expect even more of that Eli, not the second half Eli. Pretty cool.
I found the tweet. So,
all right, let's hear it.
Chris Hummer announced that 9 players had entered the transfer portal, and he says, I think Holstein should change positions after he announced that he was going into the portal. So nobody really had hopes for him as a quarterback. So to go from recruiting guys thinking that you should change positions and guys that watch this game for a living to then being one of the best starts to a season you could have before, obviously, again, injury and everything. I am very thankful for Eli and hoping we can get his I'm back tweet by tomorrow.
That would be nice. Yeah, also, not to downplay it, he was 5-time ACC Rookie of the Week. He was 5-0 in the first 5 games. He was Quarterback of the Week against West Virginia. He was the Freshman Player of the Week nationally for that game. And then overall in the season, he accounted for 20 touchdowns and almost 2,500 yards of offense combined through the air and on the ground. Yeah, he's the future, and that number 10 jersey looks really good on him, and he's just going to get better. Hopefully with an improved O-line that gives him a little bit more time to process and the offense working a little bit better, where it's not all run through him and Dez. But yeah, I mean, what a great season from him. So once again, to recap, MVP Desmond Reed, Offensive Player of the Year, split title between Des Reed and Conte Mumpfield. Defensive Player of the Year, Kyle Lewis. Most Improved Player, Rasheem Biles and Kyle Brandon Lovelace splitting that one. Best Senior, Ben Sauls. Best Underclassman, Rasheem Biles taking on that one as well. Then Best Transfer, Eli Holstein. We'll be back next year, and Des, it's time to protect your crown, as they say. And I actually don't know if Eli's going to play in the bowl game. I have nothing on that. Who cares? It's a bowl game. Want to talk hoops?
Let's
All
do
right.
it.
Ball.
Mike, I'm going to open up the floor to you to get us started here because that's every year you come on and you just get us going. So I'm going to pull the ripcord. Hit me.
Great vibes. I want to start with great vibes because there will be a little bit more negative towards the end, but great vibes. From where this team was in 2016, 2017 to 2021, dark place. Capel has been able to save his job, get an extension, and has done a great job. Currently, right now, Ken Palm, 29th team in the country. I've enjoyed the season. I truly believe we are tourney team. It's just about finding out seeding and stuff. A top 3 ACC team and everything. I just I just think that right now they are kind of in the mud offensively, and I just want something to come from it where we are trying different lineups, trying to figure out what works best. And I think Cable might be a little bit slow in changing his lineups. He likes to see things play out, and that's what I want for these next couple of weeks. Obviously, Dunn being hurt is a huge deal, and not being able to hit a three. Anybody on the team not being able to hit a three is a problem, but I do think this is a legit team that can go far in the tournament. So I'm not just going to be happy with being there. I want the team to be good and to be able to put something together to make a legit run this year. And I think they have the pieces for it. You just have to kind of find the right starting lineup, the right bench unit. But it's been a fun season. That Ohio State game, incredibly fun. Mississippi State stung badly. It brought us back to reality. But besides that, I can't be mad at the season at all.
Yeah, I think I've got the same view here. I think Mississippi State sometimes you just have a clunker on a bad night where a team that just is on in their home arena. That place was blackout crowd, all crazy and shit. I do want to talk about the lineup though. When we're looking at this lineup, right, and obviously you have to kind of see it without Damian Dunn, and they're trying to find a replacement lineup without him. I guess my question first is, do you think that the right answer is to move away from this two big lineup that they're going out with most nights, where it's whatever guards, it's going to be Jalen Ish, and then whatever third guard they're playing, whether it's Delhi or Cummings. But right now they're really rocking with Guillermo and Corin as the bigs. Do you think they need to switch out Guillermo, keep playing him, or they just need to move away from that two guard or two big lineup entirely? And that's a big question. You can break that down however you want.
I think I'm done with the two big lineup, but it's because is Diaz Graham really he's 7 foot, he's a big, but there's nothing about his game that is a big. He doesn't rebound well. He doesn't I don't see him as like a great rim protector. Like Mississippi State, it felt like it was like men versus boys where they would just go through his body, able to get offensive rebounds, able to let. I just don't really see him as a big, and I don't know where that fits on this team, on this court. If he's not hitting threes, if he's not being a rim protector, if he's not getting rebounds, what is his goal right now on this team? So I think that he could potentially figure it out. They seem to be rallying around him. Maybe that gets him to start hitting threes, but it can only go for so long, at least in this season for me, where you constantly come out and you shoot 1 for 5 from three, or you're 2 for 6 and you have 3 rebounds, maybe 1 block, but 3 fouls. Like at some point, once ACC plays start and you need to start racking up these wins, you can't use that time to be testing out anymore, seeing like, hey, maybe he'll come on. So personally, I think I'm already done with it. I want some more Papa Conte minutes. I don't know what he has to do to get them. Maybe they're just bringing him on slowly, but every time he comes into the game, I feel like he's doing something positive. So that's what I'm looking for. And if not Guillermo, why not Jorge? Like, can we also see the other twin too? I don't know what Capel's infatuation with Guillermo is right now, but I'm kind of over the experiment.
I think if I were to sort of talk it out, right? Guillermo, obviously in the past, is a pretty damn good 3-point shooter. He shot 45 his freshman year and near 50% his sophomore year. And for whatever reason, the shots are not falling this year. So I think that's sort of the avenue Cable's looking at, where he has some splash plays on defense with blocks and stuff. He's averaging like 6.5 rebounds a game. It's not not fantastic, but it's not 3. I really think the thing is that he provides the 3-point shooting, and I think Jorge might be a little bit more consistent with threes right now. I think he's a little bit better off the bench, but Jorge's defense, for whatever trouble we give Guillermo,
God
is
awful.
he's got a hole. Right. He's an even worse option as a rim protector. So you have that. Yeah, I think really it's just a matter of them waiting out him being able to shoot threes again, more or less, because and like it's not just a him problem. Obviously, no one on the team has shot well from 3 except for Brandon Cummings against Eastern Kentucky or Northern Eastern Kentucky, whatever direction from Kentucky. Like Lowe is taking them at volume, but they're not really sinking them. Delhi has not shot a lot of threes, and he hasn't hit a lot of them. Zach Austin can provide serviceable 3-point shooting, but that's sort of where we're at, where it's like I think they're just looking for an option at the 3, and like Conte obviously gives you a much better down low presence, but is totally taking away any kind of 3-point presence. I also think they're bringing him on slow because of the injury he suffered last year. Like I think that's a huge reason he didn't really get solid minutes until the Ohio State game, is that they were just being careful bringing him back into the fold.
Yeah, I think when you talk lineup perspectives, there's a lot of different things that we could do, and I think that's where Capel needs to be better, is managing matchups and what a good lineup against a good team would look like. Because Mississippi State, I guess anybody that was in there still would have got bullied, but I think we really benefit from having Diaz-Graham in if he can help stretch the floor. When he's not shooting well, obviously that's takes all that away. Mississippi State, we just got bullied. That's what I'd like to see. Honestly, even though it's a smaller lineup, I think it's a more physical lineup, putting going like Jalen-ish, Zach Austin, Brandon Cummings, Cam Corrin. Give the Twins minutes off the bench as needed to help out with that. But I don't know, man. Zach Austin rebounds the hell out of the ball. Brandon Cummings, I talked about him getting more minutes last time. Like, he's scrappy, and I think it's just a more athletic lineup that it would be really tough for some other teams to match up against. But you got to pick your spots. Like, you can't do that all the time. I do think that you'll have to have a more true 4 in there at some points. And I don't know. There's enough. I know you eventually want to have a set starting 5, but with as deep as this team is, like, now's when we should be trying that stuff out and seeing who can take a step up and pretty much earn their way into that solidified starting 5. But I think that shooters have slumps. Like, he'll be back. Let's go with a hotter hand for now. But come tournament time, I'm hoping that he gives us that same kind of juice that he did in years past.
Would it shock you to know that Guillermo is the leading rebounder on the team?
Total rebounds or average, like per game?
Average per game.
That is shocking. What is he at? 5 point something?
6.4.
That's shocking. I just
Second
feel like
place.
who's second?
It's Ish with 6.2.
I just feel like the last couple of games, I'm just like, everything that he does, I'm just like, not great. This isn't going good.
Well, it's like anytime you're not shooting well, you're kind of under a microscope, right? Like, as soon as when you go down and brick a 3 and then you miss a rebound the next time, you remember both of those things, not just the brick 3. So
I also think of his foot speed. Like, when you play the 2 bigs, somebody has to go guard the perimeter, and whenever he gets switched on, I'm just like, oh, this is not going to be good. Like, if he can be able to chase down, I like it, but like, there's sometimes he's just getting blown by and it's a layup. I just don't see the upside in it right now with 2 bigs.
How many rebounds is Corn averaging right now? Still have
Um,
that up.
5-2.
Okay. We'll see how things play out, especially when we get into ACC play. Whether I would like Corin to step up and get that up a little bit. When we got him in the portal, I was really excited for his just like he's just more of an aggressive. He's got a little bit more weight to him. He's got a little bit more muscle on him than Guillermo, obviously. But he hasn't necessarily put up the rebounding numbers to this point that I was maybe expecting from him, but it's still early. Everybody's still, like you guys said, carving out their role a little bit in this team. Cable's playing around with some things, got to figure some stuff out. So um, we'll see.
I'll be honest. I'm looking at the total team scores here, and like Mason said, I think Guillermo right now is under a microscope because of the threes not falling. Like he is shooting very badly from three. There's no way around that. But he leads the team in total rebounds. He is second on the team in blocks. Um, he's pretty good on the defensive end. It's just the threes. It's just the threes. And then if we're talking about threes, honestly, I think one of the big reasons that we're kind of feeling it this much is that the team's leading 3-point shooter by percentage is Damian Dunn. He's the only one shooting over 50% at 52.6. Jorge, in a limited sample size, is shooting 50%. And then Zach Austin, Brandon Cummings are in the 40s, as well as Delhi in that sort of small sample size. But it falls off after a cliff there. And that's like after watching Pitt for the last 6 years, it is shocking to watch a team that can't hit a three after the last how many years have just been, well, they can hit their threes. I don't know if they can do anything else.
So
Yep.
this may be a little bit of an old man take, but that's also my problem with Guillermo is you're 7 feet tall. You cannot just only be taking threes in a game.
I
And
agree.
if he's going to be 7 feet and he's going to be taking threes, then hit him. But looking at game log, Eastern Kentucky, 0 for 4 from three, 1 for 7 for three, 0 for 4 from three, 0 for 4, 0 for 1, 1 for 6. But he's taking like 4 shots, 9 shots, 5. So he's taking 1 to 2 shots inside the paint at 7 feet tall. I don't know Eastern Kentucky's roster, but I don't know how many 7 footers they have on there. That should be a game where in your 3 years, you have no back to the basket game, not one jump hook shot that you can go to. Like Cam is 2 inches shorter and everything is inside. Obviously bigger, but everything is inside. So like, if you're going to play that way, you have to have something to balance it off because teams are going to start just playing off of them. It becomes 4-on-5 on offense, and everything becomes disjointed. So I really just need them to pick it up. Either start hitting those threes and make teams pay, or if you're not hitting your threes, go inside and score another way. But you can't just burn. You can't just keep burning at both ends and not expect any results.
Mike, the answer is 0 for how many 7-footers Eastern Kentucky has on their team.
Yeah, they're dominating. And I don't like. We also need to run plays where you have lobs for him, where you just throw it up and he can slam it down. Like just make it easy. Let him see the ball go in the bucket a couple of times, and then he can work his way back. But I think for me, just constantly shooting up threes, maybe it's an old man take. I like a little bit more my big man playing inside, but that's what's frustrating. Just like, oh my god, another three missed where he can have his back to the basket and a jump hook or something. So I don't know. We'll see. I do think it's a very good team. Don't get me wrong. I am enjoying this season. It's just my expectations is not just, hey, maybe we'll make the tournament. I want to make a run this year.
So more pick and roll, less pick and pop. I'm with that.
Yeah, I think they were actually doing a pretty decent job of like doing the lob passes earlier in the season to Guillermo. He did have a couple plays like that, and it's also been another thing where this has been so negative. But since that Mississippi State game, especially in the Virginia Tech game, teams have found a very consistent way of limiting the pick and roll offense they were so good at in like the first couple weeks of the season. Especially in like the Greenbrier, they were really good off of it. And obviously part of that comes back to 3-point shooting because they can just they can defend it and not have to worry about outside shooting at all. But I agree with Mike. If you get him easy looks on the inside, he's 7 feet tall. He can just go put the ball in the rim. It's not that hard.
Yeah,
I'm
I was gonna also step in and say similar sentiments to Mike. Like, I think some of the frustration from fans is, and myself, is like, okay, he leads the team in rebounds, but like he should. He's 7 feet tall and he's playing the four. Like
yeah.
he should have more than 6 a game. He should have 10 a game. Like, bro, it's your junior. You should have a little bit more weight on you at this point. Like, get in the weight room and box some people out and be dominant. You're a 7-footer who can shoot or should be able to shoot. Like, you should be one of the best the team should be scared to play you, and instead you're soft. That's where the frustration comes in.
All right. I think we've aired all of our grievances here. Let's bring it back to the good vibes here. What do we like? What do we like seeing? Because I feel like for the last 20 minutes we've been complaining about this team the entire time. Where do you want to start with what we like seeing from this team, Mike?
Yeah. Sorry, I'll jump in. I mean, Mike mentioned it before, but like overall, it's been a very good. If you take out the Mississippi State game, obviously that game was a nightmare. You're allowed to have a bad game against. That's a good team. That's a ranked team. I didn't check the poll again today to see if they're still ranked. I assume they are. I don't think they lost. But that's a good team. Nothing to be. I mean, you should be ashamed of a 33-point loss, but you shouldn't be ashamed of a loss to a top 25 team. When you're what now 10-2? Are we 10-2?
I think 9-2. I want to say
9-2. Overall, that's a good start to the season. You have one more out of conference game to get out of conference play, or out of conference play at 10-2. That's pretty good, guys. I will take that.
I'm saying this now. Brandon Cummings, not this year, but next year, will be a first round NBA draft pick. He has all the tools. Like he's like his brother, but he just got the hype. Like he is somebody that is not afraid, that comes into a game that can be a scorer. I think he could be a great six man this year, but I think next year this is his squad, and I do believe that he can be like a first round pick next year. I'm really happy with him. It sucks that Dunn got hurt. It does, because he was such a good player to start. Luckily, we have the winter break going on right now, so I think it's 2 or 3 games maybe in between when it's at 6 weeks before his for his surgery. So that would put him right in line for the Duke game to come back. And if he's able to come back for the Duke game, I think it makes it a very, very fun game. But Dunn and Cummings have been great for me.
I mean, we've gone long enough without talking about him. Jalen Lowe has taken such a big step forward, as well as Ish Leggett. I mean, we've kind of been singing their praises all season, but after Bub and Blake left, we said we needed someone to step up at the guard positions, and boy, have they! They've been absolutely fucking electric. I mean, Ish, I believe, is leading the team with like 17 points a game, and like honestly, Zach Austin is probably one of the most unsung players on this team. He is like really stepped into that hybrid off the bench, but like he's the sixth man basically, and he has provided in every single aspect of his game off the bench when they need him the most. I mean, they don't win that Ohio State game without Zach Austin. Probably the most athletic player on the team, but a lot of guys from last year just have stepped up and have gotten better over the early returns in this year.
I just can't wait for conference play to start with this team. I'm honestly, I'm tired of playing all these cupcake games and weird Greenbrier tournaments. I'm ready for ACC games. I'm ready for like consistent 2 games a week. Let's go on this run. Let's grind it out. Let's beat the teams we're supposed to. Put our name on the map a little bit. Because I feel like right now, some people are on the Pitt hype train, but not nearly enough. And the faster we can start, knocking some of these ACC teams off, the better. Because I know it's going to happen. It's last year it was kind of, I don't want to say a fluke, but it was almost I guess a surprise. We have the expectation a little bit now, and I don't know. We're just ready to live up to those and prove some people wrong if they are doubting.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of a great segue too. I don't think we're going to record next week, so we can talk about these upcoming games with conference play really starting. Obviously, we got our last bye game against Sam Houston this Saturday. No thoughts, but ACC play opens New Year's week, New Year's Day, home against California, and then that Saturday against Stanford, bringing in some sort of mid-level teams. You go by the net. I believe California's in the 110s and Stanford's in the 70s. Welcoming the new guys to the ACC hardwood, and really it's all part of this big run up to Duke. And we'll talk about Duke when that comes up, but two really good opportunities to get this team rolling, I think.
I think Sam Houston is the last game you mess with lineups. You try to find what your starting five is, and until Dunn is able to come back, and then you roll, and you go from there. Because I think this can be a top three team in the ACC. UNC, I don't think is good this year. I think people are still like, I just don't think they have a good roster on their team. Duke is crazy. I think Duke is going to kill Pitt by like 30. Duke is a very physical team this year. Guillermo, we'll have to go back there, but I think Duke is going to kill Pitt. But besides that, I think every other team is beatable in the ACC, and I would love an ACC like championship tourney run, just a couple of games in that final two, going up against a Duke or a Clemson in the finals in the ACC tourney. But I do think that this is a team that can make some noise when everybody is healthy and they figure out what lineups they want to go with.
Yeah, I'd also like to just to give some context for that last statement. Mike is a sleeper Duke fan. We do have to disclose that.
Not a sleeper.
You're a sleeper on this. You're on a Pitt podcast. You have to be a sleeper Duke fan for this podcast.
Yeah.
But yes, Mike is a Duke fan. We do have to tell him. We do have to let everyone know that's a warning. So take his comments with a grain of salt, but you might not be wrong about Guillermo in that game.
I'm telling you, best Duke team I've seen in 10 years, better than the Zion team and stuff like that. Like this Duke team is crazy, and like it's not the offense; it's like defensively. Like I'm very interested to see how Lowe plays against their guards, and like a little bit of Cooper Flag will switch on to him too. That could be a good game to announce himself too. I think if Lowe has a big game against Duke where it's an ESPN game, everybody will be watching. That's another one that could catapult him into that. Hey, we're talking about potential draft, because coming into the season, he was mocked as a potential second rounder, late first round guy. I still think that's possible. The three point shooter just has to get up for him. You can't go to the league as a 28% 3-point shooter. But get up to back to 35, 36, I think he's in business again.
It could be like a similar springboard to Blake Hinson last year, where he goes absolutely off against Duke in their house. I mean, it is nothing but a great opportunity. And then, I don't know, do any of you have any thoughts on Cal or Stanford basketball? I'm seeing a lot of head nods because I don't have any thoughts either. They are programs that exist. They play basketball and they get some good cardio in. That's good for them.
I hope we give them a rude awakening to ACC play. I'll put it that way.
I'll second that.
Welcome to the big leagues, boys. This ain't no Pac-12 after dark. They're going to be playing it in the afternoon local time. They still haven't announced a time for the Cal game either. That's another one where there's a time for every single game except for the Cal game. At least that's what it's saying. ESPN might be lying, but no, whatever.
This ain't no puddle pirate basketball. Welcome to the big ocean.
And I think we will end off on that. This is no puddle piracy. Welcome to the Great Lakes, motherfucker. Mike, thank you for coming on. It is a pleasure every time. Maybe we might have you back on for basketball because it is the most fun talking basketball with you. Appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate being here. Always a pleasure.
Hell yeah, brother. And if you like this episode, follow us on Twitter at Semple5Pod. We'll be back after the holidays. Maybe some volleyball stuff. We'll figure that out. I'll figure that out in the meantime. And with that, we'll see you next time.
Hail to Pitt.
Beat Sam Houston.
Sam Houston mascot check.
Bearcats with a K. Bearcats with a K.
Beat the Bearcats.